What it doesn't change is that Reuter wanted to build a Noah's Ark. And to do the Noah's Ark, he went and enrolled the people in a Volkerschau. Now, one of the other interesting things that Elfriede tells me is that Reuter was not a very good theologian. He was not a good linguist. He was not a good thing. Basically, he was not Hoffman. Hoffman is another later missionary who was brilliant and a linguist, etc., etc., etc. But point remains, Reuter was not that sophisticated in terms of, I don't know, whatever. So he was a boermakeplan type of guy. And he basically decided to hire a boat, which by some other interview, I was told was a very terrible, terrible, terrible boat. The conditions were terrible. What really interests me ultimately is that whenever these academics, and by these academics I'm including myself, sometimes talk about these things, all they can really think about is the disgust. Human rights violation, yeah. What always for me is they never really take into account anything except tending to the guilt they still feel. And for me that really pisses me off. Criticality really pisses me off. There, I said it, criticality really pisses me off because it is not critical. All it is just an excuse. It's just a way of legitimizing one's continued interest in being a liberal. Now, liberalism. I read a book by Majeke, The Conquest, the Conquest Missionary as the Conquest, but it basically deals with the British missionary in South Africa. And she says a very interesting thing for me is I've always considered a liberal to be basically white people that want to be black. The ones that were against apartheid, etc., 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 etc. But what she actually puts it very nicely for me, that liberals are those people that actually make it their business to know about others. So basically liberals are anybody, black, white, green, yellow, whatever, that makes it their business to know about other people, and they sell this knowledge at a premium, which is why the South African liberals hate the ANC so much, because they thought they would be the official advisors. But anyway, conspiracy theories aside, Reuter decided to bring Bolobedu people down, and bringing these people down, he enrolled them in the Volkerschau. Another interesting thing that happened there is, instead of just showing the native performing song and dance, he did a two-pronged approach or presentation. He had heathens, and I will not try and find a new, more politically correct word for heathen. Heathen is appropriate. It captures both the strangeness and stupidity of early Europeans in Southern Africa, early missionary converts, whatever, but it captures it, and it also defines what it defines. He then will describe non-converts in the eyes of the Europeans that came to convert them. So he had heathens and he had converts on the other side of the road. On the one side of the road, the heathens were busy dancing and doing their hippie, much like what the mask shows. And on the other side, the converts were busy selling their produce, their pre-industrial produce, their handcrafts. One of the things that is commonly said about the missionaries is that they were interested they did not like industrialization so much because they felt that it destroyed a way of life. And they basically found themselves wanting to maintain technology up to a certain point. Just technologically advanced enough to get by, not technologically advanced to basically lose your way of life. Debatable. Anyway, so these converts were busy selling their produce, and as one American one American scholar says it. I do not remember, I know his name, but I don't remember his name right now. As he says it, the enterprise of the Transvaal exhibition really was about establishing the Boer as the hero. It was basically trying to make the Boer the American cowboys. A funny thing also, I will keep digressing, but while I was in Vienna, I went to an exhibition, and this exhibition, it was called, I will tell you in a second, Salon de Angst. It basically is about fear. And one of my favorite pieces in it was, it's a 3-monitor setup. And in the one you have, so basically you've got a group of what sounds like Russian, or what I assume to be Russian because they had a strange accent, dressed up as the American guy I just described on the poster in the other video. And they're basically playing the upper middle class, Wall Street kind of looking, slick hair, Makrus Banta, ties, those big colorful ties, strange things. And they're basically discussing all sorts of things. But this is like, it made me think of a Woody Allen scenario, where Woody Allen would totally make fun of the bourgeois, by drawing attention to their ridiculousness in their loudness and their conversations on the dinner table that shows that they are well read, etc., etc., etc. But anyway, getting back to the story, what really struck me about this group of American pretenders with Russian accent is they were discussing all the problems of anything to do with basically colonization. An early book that I'd looked at looks at colonization through many different parts. The colonization that South Africa is obsessed with now being the second last part. The final part is the colonization of space, and they are debating the merits of America and Russia, concept of what if Russia is pretending to be communist only to become capitalist later, and America, who is democratic and all of that, is going to end up being the one that is socialist, communist, something along that line, because they're becoming even more and more stricter about things, and all those countries that used to be not so more strict are becoming less and less strict. But anyway, they talk about it doesn't matter who lands first on the moon. What they describe as a situation of what happened in America, where a Spanish, French, all sorts of other people landed in America, did not manage to establish, landed first in America and did not manage to establish a colony. And then you have the British, who were latecomers. They land and they manage to establish a successful colony. But even with them, within a generation or 2 generations, they lose the colony to a new group of people called Americans. And basically, the moral of the story is, it doesn't really matter who comes where, when. What matters is the people that decide to take ownership, but take ownership by living there. Now, another concept that really kept looming large between me and Elfriede was about the hotel that's being built, or that was supposed to be built in Bolobedu. Also amidst controversy of ANC meddling, rich people meddling, the whole concept of communal land. The main reason Mujaji had a problem with Reuter, according to Elfriede, was not because he was coming to mission, but because he wanted to occupy land. And the act of Reuter occupying land basically summed up what was wrong with colonization, or they did not mind people coming in or new ideas, because if you track Bolobedu history, there have been other groups that have come into Bolobedu on the same principle as the Boers and the British. So world movement is nothing new, even to Bolobedu, even to Africa. Europeans, you're not the first people to colonize the world. The world has been colonized many times. You're not the first ones to colonize Southern Africa, so get over it. Anyway, you might have a particular breed of colonization that you take very highly of it, but get over it. Colonization is not the first thing you've ever done. You've just invented a new method of colonization. But anyway, the big problem was that they did not want Reuter occupying land, because land was only reserved, the only person that could own land and settle permanently was the queen, or even she couldn't really settle permanently. But the whole idea is, the problem with Reuter coming to Bolobedu really, supposedly revolved around him settling and occupying land. And I think I've lost the train of my story. But I just wanted to finish the other story that said that Reuter wanted to build a Noah's Ark. He was freaking out. I think it's Abraham. I don't know who was the person that did the Noah's Ark. But anyway, the person with the big beard that did the Noah's Ark the last time, he built the ark because he was afraid the world is going to be flooded. And Reuter did a Noah's Ark because he was afraid the world is going to dry up. So that's the moral of the story, and I've actually enjoyed telling the stories which do not make any sense, but as my favorite book, the only book I ever read in one sitting, did. This guy tells a story, and after every couple of pages he says, now that we've gotten rid of those people that are